Welcome to
The
Cleaning, a podcast about Apple TV Plus's new show, Silo. My name is Catfish, and with me, as always, is someone who is good at following rules. It's Bubba.
Hello, Catfish. It is episode 8. The stakes are high.
Woo.
The stakes are medium well, getting to well done.
They're stepping up.
We are talking about episode 8 entitled Hanna.
AKA The Silo Always Wins.
The Silo Always Wins. New information causes Juliette to see her family's past differently, and she finally gains access to the Silo's biggest secrets. Catfish, do you think these were the Silo's biggest secrets?
You know, not only is it the Silo's biggest secret, it's still a secret, Bubba. We have no idea what is on that hard drive, what would cause it to be so sought after by everybody who's in charge. So, Bubba, before we get into talking about what happened, first we always have to do our reviews, so then later on people can tell us why we're wrong. So, Bubba, how did you rate episode 8, Hanna, aka The Silo Always Wins?
Catfish, I'm going to give this 7 triple Ds out of 10.
M triple Ds?
Well, that's how the episode begins, with a mother-daughter drug deal. When you are out with your daughter, dealing some drugs, getting some bunny blood, and you're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking all spoilers. Mayor Bernard, more like Dictator Bernard, loved his evilness, his wickedness. Oh, my goodness. Love what the show is setting up with Paul Billings. What if you're somebody who's won the PAC championship 4 times, and now you're slowly realizing this document, which you've put all your faith in, the powers that be can disregard it whenever they want? Love this, what we're setting up. Only 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
and this is just me. I hope other people don't feel this way.
Okay.
But the flashback, I didn't connect with it that much. I think it logically makes sense with everything we've seen so far.
Right.
It emotionally makes sense for Juliette's history. But when it was over, I immediately thought, what if the show had made us, the viewers, the audience, think that Dr. Nichols had, betrayed his wife for several episodes? Like in the first flashback, we saw and we believed the wife and young Juliette that he had ratted out his wife's project. And then suddenly in episode 8, we realized he didn't rat them out. It was the camera. I thought of that because I didn't connect with this flashback at all. And so I feel rough that it's only 7 out of 10 because I've seen many people online who love this episode.
Yeah.
But because the flashback was such a big piece of it, I didn't connect with the episode as much as I have these last 2 episodes. So 7 out of 10, I'm going to celebrate all the good stuff. And maybe you or maybe our listeners can talk me into, once again, it's not that I don't think it's right. It's just I didn't emotionally connect with it like I thought, this flashback. So that's me. Catfish, what is your rating out of 10?
Bubba, I have been increasingly down on these episodes.
You have?
Mostly because of Juliette, and we have had a lot of great back and forth with our listeners about Juliette the hero. Bubba, I am going to give this episode 9.3, what I like to call triple S's.
Okay, 9.3. That's incredible. Wait a minute. Triple S?
Yes. Sarcastic Sim supporters. Now, not because I'm sarcastically supporting Sims, but I'm supporting him because he is sarcastic. He is great. This is a great character. And you know what?
What?
There's so much going on here in this episode. Things have really picked up. So many great things. Unlike you, I liked the flashbacks. It gave us a lot of information, and we find out how Juliette is. I loved it, but Bubba, we're going to talk about all the things that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Later on. So I'm not going to talk about all this amazing stuff. What I'm going to talk about is this. People are tired of me talking about Juliette, but
you promised you wouldn't talk about her anymore. So this is so great.
Here's our hero, so let's talk about her. She, A, puts her dad in danger by hiding the hard drive where he works with the babies. B, never apologizes to her father after finding out that he is not the one who gave up her mom. 3 is willing to put Lucas's mom in danger, and we won't help. She says, well, you better get back to your mom, chiding him like she's a teenager taunting a friend about not going after curfew.
Well, hold on. We've
talk to
seen
me.
in young Juliette,
Mhm.
in that final flashback, and here I'm not a fan of the flashback, I'm trying to defend it.
Now you know.
What upset her the most as a young child? The people who didn't have any courage and wouldn't even come to her mom's funeral because they're so afraid. And so is she pushing that lifelong resentment towards Lucas, somebody who doesn't show courage? So,
Bubba, I'm not saying it's not justified. Now, I am completely cool with people thinking that Juliette is our flawed hero.
right.
We've been talking about what kind of show this is. Because in the books, it's not a mystery box. In the show, it's a mystery box.
But it's becoming a thriller. That's why these last 3 episodes are so good. It's at least truer to the spirit of the book, in my opinion, becoming a thriller.
But Bubba,
Yeah.
what if this show is trying to do something different altogether that we don't usually see? And that is, we follow people for most of a season and we think they're the hero. And then we realize they flipped it on us. The people that we thought was the hero the whole time are really the bad guys. This is what I'm suggesting here, only partially tongue-in-cheek. Okay?
No, it's not partially. It's ridiculous. The ridiculousness I have to put up with.
It's not.
No, it's defending communist China. It's defending Soviet Russia. When you side with authoritarianism, you're ridiculous.
I'm glad you're reacting the way people would have reacted if you hadn't pushed me to explain this further.
Okay.
This is a completely different society than the society we are living in now. Everyone is interconnected. If trouble gets caused, the entire silo could be destabilized and everyone could lose their lives. What does everybody think that we've talked to on this show? Without them, without what they do, the silo will break down. And you know what, Bubba?
What?
They're all right. They are all right. Juliette's right that without what she does, the silo would break down. Bernard's right with what he would do. That if he wasn't doing what he's doing, the silo would break down. And I'm going to say that Sims is right, thinking that if he doesn't do what he does, the silo is going to break down. So yes, authoritarianism is wrong. But what if it really is the only true way to maintain the silo?
Okay.
So,
I think
again,
I do want to say that you just a couple of weeks ago, you have no short-term or long-term memory. Just a couple of weeks ago, you were like, my favorite character, I'm on Team Patrick Kennedy, who has not once said the work I do keeps the silo safe. Patrick Kennedy was like, putting up these banners, that hasn't kept the silo safe in any way.
Well, for those of you who are not watching on video, I'm showing my true colors now because my background today is our true #flawed hero, Sims.
He's watching you, just like he watches everybody. He's over your shoulder watching you. This is brilliant. If we have learned one thing this week in June of 2023, it's that when the Judicial Department asks you for top secret things back, you give it back or you get in trouble.
Exactly.
Right? Like
it's pro-judicial.
You should go back.
Pro-judicial.
Like, it doesn't matter if you've been sheriff. You can't keep the top secret relics. There's going to be a season 2 coming of Silo Catfish. It's
Bubba,
been renewed.
Are you saying that the cleaning podcast has been renewed?
Nobody has said
cow.
that. Many people say, please no. People are like, I love this show, but if I could cancel those 2 idiots in their podcast, I would happily let it go. Right. This is something Apple TV does. That show, and I've already forgotten the name of it, but the show that just premiered a couple months ago on Apple TV about the wish machine that tells you what you would be.
Right.
So that literally started filming season 2 here in Georgia, United States, before the first season had even premiered. And then they were like, hey, guess what? We're renewing it for season 2. And it's like, yeah, you've been asking for extras for the last month of stuff. So
well, what
is it called funny, Small Town Prize? Whatever it is. Yeah.
What's funny is that considering the way things have been going lately, this feels like a little late for a renewal.
Yeah. Why wait so long? Yeah.
Maybe this one is just more expensive than that one, and they really wanted to see how it would go.
Well, we asked you listeners, we asked you for feedback on if you love Juliette, tell us why you love Juliette. If you think, if you have reasons why we're too tough on her, write and tell us. And we got so much feedback. We are going to actually have to cut our discussion of the episode short a bit, so we can read all this incredible feedback. Now,
but there's one thing we cannot do. We have to do every time, and that is, please beg people to join us on this adventure with us. You can go to facebook.com/double and then the letters PHQ. You can hit us up at double PHQ on Instagram and Twitter and maybe Blue Sky, if I can ever get a connection to that.
Yeah, nobody invites us to Blue Sky.
No, I begged them. They wouldn't let me join. Smash the like button on YouTube. Join us on YouTube. Subscribe to us and become a part of this conversation. If you want to tell me I'm crazy because I'm right, do it.
Now, Catfish, we got one other bit of news I do want to talk about before we get to the discussion. And I apologize. We always add stuff. This episode was directed by Adam Bernstein. Do you want to tell everybody what Adam Bernstein's first directing gigs were and why that's such a big, important thing in your life?
You always do this to me. You are horrible. Okay. Yes, I absolutely do want to do. So let's see. Adam Bernstein, who is a director from Fargo.
Yeah, search real quick. I remember
that very, very, very carefully. He's done The Mist. He did The Outsiders. Very important. Down, Adam
find
Bernstein.
Out where he began his career directing what?
He did Entourage. He did They Might Be Giants videos. Yay!
That was his first directing gig, was directing those They Might Be Giants videos that broke the band. He directed Put Your Hand Inside the Puppet Head, Don't Let's Start, Anna Egg, Birdhouse in Your Soul. That's how he got started, was directing Catfish's favorite band music videos. And I'm just so glad that you brought it up because he's had such an important part in your life.
Son of a gun. First of all, I thought the reason you were going to shame me was because, as you shamed me before for not knowing somebody who's directed me in something. So
yeah, that's pretty
good. Completely different.
Okay. Let's continue shaming Catfish in a judicial debate. Here we go.
Love it.
What's on the docket this week, Catfish?
All right, Bubba. So here's a question after all this. May not be answered, but let's try to puzzle it out.
Okay.
So who's really in charge here? Judicial or IT?
I have a answer, but I kind of want you to go first, if that's okay. So who do you think, and listeners, once again, we'd love you to play along. If you're on YouTube, go down and write what you think. If you're not on YouTube, you can even email us, hello@doublepmedia.com. Catfish, who do you think? Judicial, IT, who's really in charge?
This has almost been like an onion, right? We peel back the onion. The only reason why we still think they're separate is somehow Juliette became sheriff, where if you think they were all aligned, they would not have allowed this to happen. So that part doesn't make sense. But to me, it really feels like IT, and I'll tell you why, Bubba.
Okay.
Because somebody has to service those screens for judicial. And it makes more sense that the people taking care of their techno equipment are IT. And we do find out this time. I asked the question last week, how many people know the true story? Maybe I asked it a couple weeks ago. And it turns out Mayor Bernard, I never wanted this job, Bernard. He knows everything.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And so your question of who's in charge, judicial or IT, I think it's Bernard. I think it's always been Bernard. I think he is a dictator. I think he is a dictator who didn't want anybody to know he was a dictator and ended up putting puppet figureheads in charge of everything.
He put his hand inside the puppet head.
Adam Bernstein, exactly right. He put in a judge who does everything he says, and he has an enforcer in Sims right next to her to make sure she does it. He put in Holston because his numbers say Holston will just do the pact and won't cause trouble. He wants to put in Paul Billings as a figurehead because he'll just do the pact and won't get in trouble. I think this is a dictatorship. He just happened to be head of IT. He's
so
in charge
do you
of
think that the only thing I can think that makes logical sense is the whole keep your enemies closer thing as far
on
as
Juliette?
Yeah.
Right. He like fought it. He couldn't come out and stop it unless he wanted to, show himself to be above the mayor in power or have the mayor think, okay, judicial's above me in power. So to kind of keep the charade going, he let it go and then thought, well, okay, she's not right with my numbers about who's a supplicant who will just do what I say. And he tries to get her on his side. He's like, oh, well, the easiest way to get somebody on my side is to be an ally to them, to an adversary. And he points the judge as the adversary. Even that worked pretty well, but not, past episode 8, apparently.
Right. And the thing is, it's like, obviously, when he's the one who knows about the hard drive, I just have to assume that he had previous knowledge about that too, and that may be the reason why he's keeping her close. All right, Bubba.
Yeah.
We always have to decide based on the episode itself. So based on episode 8 of The Silo,
yeah,
do the people in the silo have it better or worse than the people in modern times, Bubba? What's your answer?
I, through my work, have the worst health plan. You try to see a doctor and they're like, do you want a virtual visit with your doctor? I'm like, that is just terrible. So obviously people in the silo have it better. Not only will they come to your house, like Judicial came to Hanna and Dr. Nichols' house, but when they leave, even if they've been terrible, they somehow are relatively nice and say, thank you for having, what did they say? It was so ridiculous. I laughed at it. Like, oh, the Judicial Department thanks you for your time and cooperation. I mean, hey, how many times are you like, oh, I got to go all the way down to the courthouse for jury duty. Here, Judicial comes to you. I mean, it's just better there in the silo. How about you? Which way is better?
At least in America, we always have our thoughts that the bigger, the better, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm saying the people in the silo have it better based on this episode because we only have probable cause and they have extreme probable cause.
Right. They just have cause. They have improbable cause. Oh boy, we're always siding on this silo, Catfish. No wonder Sibs is there with you. It's like, come be my shadow, Catfish. You could do it.
He's my boy. Oh man, I would be honored.
All right, let's get into this episode because there's so much to cover. Let's get to these flashbacks that you enjoyed that I was tough on. It begins with the mother-daughter drug deal. This guy Mosley is in the middle of the farm level. You give him some pills, he gives you a bunny. And as you said, the subtitle of the episode, the silo always wins.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. And of course, Hanna tells her daughter, it's not a pet. Okay. And of course, I'm thinking of the Michael Moore film, Roger and Me, where there is this section in Flint, Michigan, where these people have a sign, free rabbits, pets are food. And, pretty tough. But the rabbit is sick. And why don't we just go through all the flashback stuff, Catfish? So
let's do it.
The rabbit is sick. And real quick, we learned that Hanna, Juliette's mom, is trying to help the silo. She's created this, as they keep calling it, a magnifier. I call it a microscope, but either way, this rabbit had a hole in its heart, just like her son Jacob did. She's going to perform open heart surgery on the rabbit, and she's brought her daughter along with her on this journey. What have you thought so far in these parts of the flashback?
This is a really cool looking microscope. It's got a lot of extra bells and whistles on it. My only concern is, I hate to use the term death panels, but the silo needs strong people to support the whole silo. But man, I am really pro jackbooted police state on this episode. But again, it's the kind of thing where, at least in the past, I would have died a long time ago because I would have been eaten by an animal because I'm blind. So, the people have to be strong in the silo to support somebody through their life. If they're weak or they're partly incapacitated, would be a burden on the silo.
What about scientific progress. She's trying to do it, as she says, to help everybody in the silo. Anybody who has, heart trouble, we'd be able to patch it up.
They'd be able to patch it up, but would they still be able to contribute as much to the silo? I mean, the only thing they could really do is be like Copernicus, who just basically cleans the tables by sitting on them all day long.
I'm going to edit out me laughing at that terrible, terrible thing. Okay, so the next flashback, Juliette is watching through a door as these judicial thugs are tearing her family's apartment up.
Since we're doing the flashbacks now, we should also mention this was a cool thing because it segued from the judicial raiders tearing up Juliette's office. So for a second, it seemed like the same thing until you saw she'd had experience with this already.
Yeah, she has. We're seeing a huge conflict. If you're Hanna and you do believe your husband turned you in, that is horrific. That is unforgivable. You've crossed the Rubicon. You cannot return from this. But of course, I am already thinking, wait a minute, of course he didn't. They just watched the mirror. And so it's an odd thing to watch people breaking up for what is obviously a ridiculous, a wrong reason. And it's just very tough to watch.
he makes a good point too. Even without the cameras, they got people delivering stuff to their door. We know that there are essentially, the little whisperers around besides the screens. And I think, the whisperers don't need to be that effective with screens, but you just need to put out there that there are whisperers so that people know. But yes, her subtlety passed down from mother to daughter here.
She's even hidden the magnifier in her house really well they look like typical individual things. And it's not till you put them together that you see that it's a magnifier. Really, really incredible. Do you have any theories, any further theories? We've actually asked it several times, so you may not. But why in the world is a microscope so powerful? You can't have a microscope. What could it be?
All levels of scientific inquiry are dangerous.
And is that why they want the rabbit too? I mean, what the hell is going on?
I don't know why they want the rabbit.
Dad, the wife may think he turned you into judicial, but she knows he'll lie and say the rabbit died. I mean,
oh my God. And then Juliette goes to play with the rabbit, and then she definitely thinks the dad ratted out mom, so that explains everything. But I just am waiting for Bubba. As soon as I see this, I know that in the future we're going to have the reconciliation where Juliette will go to her dad, and then she's going to apologize to him. Wait, let me check the magic 8-ball. No effing way.
Oh, yeah.
That was my prediction, Bubba, that she would not apologize to him.
Okay, listen, she didn't apologize to him, but she's going to say, okay, I understand you didn't do it. She comes as clean as you could.
No, there's cleaner, Bubba. I'm sorry for accusing you and hating you all these years for something you didn't do.
All right, the final flashback is the one that I talked about, and you're talking about intercutting. She lets her rabbit go free in the cornfield. In the present timeline, she's detained and can't go free in the timeline. And this is where she just hates cowards. She hates people who don't stand up to the man. And she releases the rabbit into the wild. Did you like these flashbacks? Is that kind of almost a beautiful metaphor?
I didn't even think about her being captured and the rabbit going free. Beautiful for both reasons.
Okay, well, let's go back and let's talk about the things that happened in the present timeline. Where did Juliette go when the raiders busted into the long-term care facility? She snuck back to maternity and hid there. The judicial raiders come into the maternity ward. And one of them is very literal. We're not looking for a baby. Let's leave. And
good point.
Did Juliette spend the night there? Nobody came in to check these infants and these all night long. Now, my favorite character, who is played by an actress I've seen in multiple things, I can't tell you what it is. It's Nurse Amy.
That's shameful. That's more shameful than me not knowing about the director.
That's true. Now, long-term care facility nurse Amy is helping out Gloria, and Gloria's like, I don't feel well. I want to go to sleep. Sims enters, and we have a real, I think, fascinating scene here between Sims and Gloria. Don't you? Yeah. All last week, you asked, and I think a lot of people asked, they killed the mayor, they killed Deputy Marnes, but Gloria, they'll just let her live? And I think this scene actually kind of answers that, don't you?
Absolutely does. He says it's because she gave him the folic acid and he was able to have a child. I mean, he is so sweet with her.
Well, what I was going to say is it's threats, but it's the most gentle of threats. And
Absolutely.
one thing I need Paul Billings with me to tell me, did Sims break the pact by working with Gloria to get pregnant? You know, like this feels like, you know how we're always beating up Paul Billings about I'm for the pack, I'm for the pack, I'm for the pack. And then when it comes to his own case of the syndrome, he won't follow the pact. Here, it kind of feels like Sims might have done the same thing. Hey, I'll do what's told. I'll do what's told. I'll do what's told. Oh, this lady can help me. I'll do it.
Everyone, I think no matter what the rules are, will say, hey, I can break the rule for myself. That's completely fine. It's Billings breaking it for himself, Sims breaking it for himself. Of course, everyone's going to break it for themselves. But Sims says, look, I'm not going to make you clean. You're either going to sit in this room and stare at the walls, or I'm going to give you, and he calls it, Bubba, the good stuff. That's what I kept referring to it last week. And that is a great deal that our #flawed hero gives Gloria.
Gloria does give up the ghost. She does say, okay, she grabbed this bag and
I'd do it too,
Sheriff
Bubba.
Holston hid in the wall.
For the good stuff? Hell yeah.
Now, Sims is about to exit the room when Gloria says to him, do you really think you'll win? And Sims says, we have to. So this is a man who, say what you will about him, he believes in his cause.
Hero. Yeah, he does believe in his cause. Again, he may be wrong, but he could be right. What if Juliette got what she wanted and anybody could do what they wanted? I mean, it would be a disaster in there.
Well, hold on. Let's have a mini judicial debate right now.
Okay.
If Juliette could go back in time, never meet George, never get pulled into this kind of quest, and she had lived the rest of her life down in mechanical, working on the generator, do you think she would have had a happier life? Or do you think knowing the truth about her mother, having this reconciliation with her father, and admittedly learning these horrific truths that people are watching you in your home through mirrors, like, youch, if you gave her the option, would Juliette say, you know what, I'd rather be happy down in mechanical, or no, I'd rather know the truth, even if it opens my eyes to some true horrors? So this is it's not exactly what Gloria's being given, but it is an option. Hey, sit here in this room all by yourself and stew in the horrors of this world, or escape into the Matrix. So what do you think about these?
She would have been okay with staying down below, not finding this information, going about and fixing things, mechanical things, which she's been good at. Yes, I think it would have been better off for her.
Listeners, do you want to live in the Matrix, or do you want to be awake in the, what did they call that terrible area in the Matrix where everybody had the crazy raves? Zion, that was just terrible. Okay. So
oh my God,
Matrix
it was terrible. But you
terrible.
know who was badass? Sims. He's always got his crew with him. This is what I appreciate. He rolls deep. I love it.
Something that's really bizarre is somebody on Sims's own crew says, hey, we saw Juliette on the stairs going down, but stair coverage is spotty below medical. Number one, Sims, if your job is security and you don't have cameras below medical, you're epic failing at your job, Bernard. Send him for a cleaning. Get somebody in here who'll have eyes on all the stairs.
Whoa. I need
this
to
is
do
a
my
red
Sims
level relic.
Here.
A red level relic.
Red level relic. Red level, yellow level.
Red level, yellow level, red level. It's a warm-up, vocal warm-up exercise, everybody. Try to say red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, as quick as you can, back and forth. It's tough. Juliette, though, she didn't go down the stairs. What, is Sims' crew this incompetent? She stayed in the maternity ward the whole time.
Listen, there's lots of places. Those babies are big. She can hide right underneath the baby.
Last week, I exploded and I was anti-Juliette because she is the sheriff.
It's appropriate.
People call her for help on a radio and she turned it off. It drove me crazy. And almost as crazy, this week she has it on when she's in hiding. She's like, I'm here hiding from these evil judicial thugs, but let me have the radio on pretty loud in case somebody calls me. And she wakes up.
Yep.
And Billings is calling her. If you're Juliette, you feel comfortable going back to work? I mean, this was a crazy night you had, but you're still willing to just go back to the sheriff's office?
Yeah, well, I was thought we may not see her back in her office again after last week.
They are tearing the place apart. You mentioned this is what she experienced as a child. Here, her workplace is getting torn up. One thing I loved as a nice detail, as Juliette walks into the sheriff's station, if you look at Paul Billings, his left hand is holding his right hand, trying to control the syndrome. Loved it. They are looking for relics, and there's, of course, a little Easter egg relic for us that Billings yells at one of these people destroying the deputy station. He's like, hey, take it easy, Howey, a.k.a. the name of the author. Take it easy.
But now he is upset because he says this is a blatant pact violation. So maybe I was wrong that maybe extreme probable cause is not really a thing here.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. Now, the Raiders, they know that their goal is to find Juliette's relic. And they ask for her bag, and she puts up a little fight to fake everybody out. Oh, I've got it. But then she lets them search it. They don't find anything. They're pretty upset. They've destroyed this place. They leave. Billings and Juliette go into the office. And Billings, he's decided to earn some adult content this week with some hardcore cussing. Why did I wanted to go higher than 7 out of 10? Because I love this. Juliette gives him a look, and Billings like, what? I cuss? Hey, come on, I'm cool. I cuss. Hilarious.
And now she feels so comfortable with Billings that she tells him, it's Sims. Sims is the one who is behind it all. And she says he, meaning Sims, is not going to stop until I'm either in that cell or over the effing rail. Forgetting my favorite option for her, Bubba. Clink, squeak, 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 squeak. Then we see Sims.
Catfish, they don't give her Windex. Or you just have a piece of wool when you clean the camera.
It still squeaks in my head.
Oh, okay.
Outside the silo, no one can hear you squeak. And then Sims, I love it, is being a total sarcastic son of a gun with one of his subordinates. He's like, is this a hard drive? Is this a hard drive? Sims is the mother flipping best, Bubba.
That's the new hot game show.
Is this a hard drive?
In the silo. Is this a hard drive?
Holy cow. And then what happens? Juliette comes in and charges Sims with a crime and puts him under arrest.
Whoa.
Oh, my God. And
this
Sims
to me.
What? Oh, yeah.
This to me, and because I was very anti-Juliette on a couple of these episodes, this where it was like, okay, listen, this Sims guy is causing you so much trouble. Billings just said he committed a crime. Arrest him. Get him out of the way. I loved it. I loved it.
This is where we differ. You have been upset with Juliette over some of the ways she's approached doing things, not in smart ways. So she was able to come back a little bit for you this week.
Oh yeah, no, this specific thing, I thought was so smart. Like, hey, you've got this guy is your antagonist. You've got him on a crime. Billings, the square, the guy nobody will doubt because he knows the pack so much, says you can arrest him. Arrest him. I love it.
Oh my God.
Moments of dialogue too. Billings, Sims is like, why are you doing this? Billings like, she's the boss. Sims, for the moment.
And I think it's right before that he says, well, all those packed bees finally came in handy for you, right? Another delicious
good. And Sims and Juliette, we want our hero to face a tough challenge. Let's be honest, Sims is a tough challenge. Sims, you'll regret this. Juliette, I doubt it. Oh, heck yeah. And so I'm so on Juliette's side. And then everybody leaves and she's like, I'll search this office. And I suddenly thought, wait a minute. No. Don't do this. Don't do this. I know you want all these secrets. Why not go in the relics closet? But no, she's going to go through these files. Here, I'll diss Sims again. Sims, you are the head honcho. That's the best place you can hide files. And why did you even have to hide them? There was no reason to hide them. But he's got files on a bunch of people with connections to Juliette. Her friend Shirley from the Down Deep, her good buddy Walker, her toaster cleaner and therapist, as well as her mom. Her mom, Hanna Nichols, was a person of interest from February 28th of 122 to July 20th of 122. Apparently on July 17th of that year, that's when they busted her for illegal magnification. Whoa.
See, look, they investigated her for quite a while before they busted her for it. That's what I like to call judicial due process, Bubba.
No, that just means these idiots are lame. They had a camera, could watch all this stuff, and they're still
You've got your explanation, and I have mine.
Well, Sims, is this a hard? Is this like, a magnifcation glass? I don't know.
We have to wait until we have extreme reasonable doubt.
Good grief! Now, down in maternity, once again, Juliette put together what we viewers put together. Hey, my dad didn't turn in my mom. She was watched.
I love it. Here comes her apology. Just kidding, obviously.
And one thing that I thought was incredible is, he's like, listen, I was distraught over my son's death. I spent all my time at work. All this stuff makes perfect sense. He regrets bowing to Judicial. His wife didn't want to listen. He feels like he failed her. But this was the thing that if any of this flashback was strong, this was it. We beat him up pretty bad in that flashback episode where we saw his daughter go down to mechanical and him just kind of shrug his shoulders and go,
right.
Oh, well. Here, he's trying to explain it to be like, I saw how this world and this level destroyed your mom. And so if you could focus on something, you're great at fixing things, you could kind of put your head right. It's almost like he's doing he made the Gloria choice for his daughter. I let you go down there because that way you wouldn't get into any of the trouble that you could get into up here.
And I tell you, the way she doesn't say she's sorry is so emotional.
Love is never having to say you're sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the way her father shows it. But okay, now, Bubba, we got more excitement.
We debated this last week.
Together, which I didn't. Did you feel any emotion, happiness, whatever, for these two rebonding after all these years?
While it wasn't strong, like I said, this flashback part, which this is admittedly in the present, but it ties to the flashback part. To me, that was the part that I didn't connect with much. But one thing I do love in any storytelling is when people are able to see the other person's side. Hey, we're fighting about this. I can see your side now, where before I couldn't. And so I did like that part of it. And it was good to see. Juliette, she's got the hard drive. She's reconciled with her dad. She needs some help because she can't access it. She first thinks to Walker, but there are checkpoints on the stairwell. Whoa. And your hero, Sims.
Yes.
Is he the best prisoner or worst prisoner?
Holy cow.
He wants some double C.
The double C.
Cell coffee. And when you are a prisoner, do you think you can order the coffee the way you want it? Like, yeah, I want it this way. Whoa.
That could have been a really knockoff, whatever, just quick scene. The tension in that scene was amazing. Those guys are like, oh my God.
Sims is asking for a radio. And the one deputy looks at the other two, and the other two are like, no, dude, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, man.
Holy cow. Oh, and he says, what did he say? He says, I won't hold it against you.
Whoa, man, oh man.
So good.
Paul Billings, a character who I've mentioned. This is a guy who they're setting up his character so wonderfully, in my opinion. A guy who, once again, I'm going to live by the constant. This is, a couple of weeks ago, I think I mentioned L.A. Confidential in one way or another.
You did.
And here is the Ed Exley character from the great film L.A. Confidential. Somebody who's like going by the book. And then he's going to face a problem where the book won't help you. The book won't save you. He sneaks home. He has an attack of the syndrome. His wife thinks it's getting worse. Of course it's getting worse. This is tense stuff. And his wife, you must love her, Catfish, she disses Juliette.
Well, it made me think that as much as I like Billings, and I do, I think his wife is definitely the smarter of the two of them, because she realizes what a danger to Juliette is. Look, subjectively, even if you like Juliette, Billings is putting himself in so much danger for what? He's putting his entire family in danger for this nebulous, this crazy person who's like, my friend was killed and Sims is in. I mean, it's like,
right. That's the crazy part is Billings. He was with Judicial for a bit. Again, he tries to say, boy, I was on the clerical side. But the fact that he can't believe Rob Sims, somebody who you assume he had a warm relationship with, is the bad guy, really crazy. Now, down in the down deep, Juliette had sent a email message to Walker via her dad's email messaging system, but Juliette hasn't shown up. Walker is freaking out. This is another scene, a bit like I wanted I wanted as a viewer to see earlier that Hanna and her husband, Peter Nichols, fought over who ratted us out. Here, we're finally seeing, rather than being told Walker won't leave her little workshop there. And I loved seeing it. I thought it was great. And then Shirley comes up, and Shirley's like, dude, things aren't good. Walker says, hey, you got to find Juliette.
You're right. We go to Copernicus, who's again hanging out at the cafeteria. He gets a message from Juliette to come to her place. Her place.
Oh,
Bubba.
Another thing that I like Juliette much more in this episode, but that is not smart. You know that everybody's looking at you. Everybody's watching you. Yes, you put something to cover the mirror in your house. Maybe she's like, okay, I don't know where in the silo there aren't cameras. So the only place I can meet Lucas is at my house by covering the camera. But to me, this was just a dangerous place to have this meeting. Since you have the hard drive on you, dangerous place to have this. And then she totally drops a previously on recap on Lucas. And this is a hardcore one, man. And of course, Lucas, we men, they joke that we men have a one-track mind. Lucas is hearing all these incredible things. The mayor was murdered. Wait, who's George? Juliette. Well, he was a friend. I mean, Lucas, come on.
So Lucas is obviously, like any rational person would be at this point, is like, she's really hot, but like, this is a little scary. So then Juliette smashes her mirror.
That's scary.
Right? She pulls out the sensor and she shows it to him. Bubba, what do you think?
The no carrots, only sticks. This is, do you want the stick or the stick? She has had her eyes open to the world, and she wants anybody to open their eyes with her. Billings, God bless him, he can't. Lucas, who she doesn't really know that well, let's be honest, he can't. And he freaks out, and he is...
Now, Bubba, I am going to disagree with you on this one.
What do you mean?
Because, especially for Juliette, she explains a lot before she essentially negs him. She tries to tell him all the stuff that's going on before she's like, screw your mother and her safety and you. If you don't want to do this, you're not a man. You're not a real man.
Hold on. Mm-hmm. And how about, at the very least, force the hard drive into his hands and say, okay, listen, you got to look at it. And they don't have much time. They don't know how long it's going to take for the judicial raiders to get there. Very dangerous, Juliette. Very dangerous. She strikes out with Lucas when he struck out with her the previous week. These two, they can't ever get on the same page. Then she's just going to think, okay, I don't have a choice. I'm just going to have to sheriff my way through this checkpoint. Mm-hmm. And it's no dice. She's not going to get through. When the true hero comes up,
absolutely,
Bernard,
finally he's agree.
Like, here. I'm the mayor. She's the sheriff. Look, this is how we work it. He's like, listen, we got to talk.
Let's go to the fields.
Let's go to the cornfield. Nobody will talk in the cornfield. We can say whatever we want.
No problem.
Come on. Think of North by Northwest. You're completely safe in the cornfield.
Bubba, he says, I never wanted this effing job.
Oh, man, I LOL'd. Admittedly, he hadn't revealed himself to be such a wicked villain, but the way he said, man, I never wanted this job, I loved it. I laughed. I laughed pretty hard.
We've suspected him before, but he really laid it on here like, he's bad. But they didn't make us wait very long. This was so delicious when he's like, oh, darn, I said hard drive. How would I know there's a hard drive? Oops. So incredible, Bubba.
It's great. Now, I don't think this could be a big shock to anybody. It's Tim Robbins. It's Tim Robbins. This can't be a big shock, but his acting and the lines they gave him and the way this is staged, I loved it. And let me say, suddenly Sims is there, and you are getting the full picture, Juliette, of how deep in the silo you are. You may not be in the down deep, but you're in the down deep, if you know what I mean. And all of these lines are gold. And Bernard, I'm sorry, Sheriff Nichols, did you just say you want to go outside?
Yes.
Catfish, if you say you want to go outside, this is friggin' evil. This is that short story, The Prisoner. This is like, we are.
But now you know why I really should have rated this episode higher than a 9.3.
What is it about being a sheriff these days?
Yeah, he's we lost 2 in a period of 2 weeks. Oh, man.
Incredible. Now,
Yeah.
Bernard, hey, if you're the supervillain in a James Bond film, in any film, you get to monologue, baby.
You got to
and
explain.
This is all good. This is all good, Bernard. How in the world did he end up? He explains it. The founders knew someone would have to make the hard decisions to keep our silo alive.
Which
a
you
person
don't buy.
that possessed the knowledge, the intelligence, the information about everything that happens here. Lucky me.
You know, the only thing I would have said differently, Bubba, in that speech, I would have said a person that had possessed the knowledge, the intelligence, the magnetic masculinity. I would have added magnetic masculinity if it was me doing that speech.
Bernard, Miss Nichols, throughout our entire existence, problems have arisen that must be taken care of. The needs of the many require the sacrifices of the few. Oh, this is all gold. Juliet's like, God, you hated me ever since I stole the damn heat tape, Bernard.
Right. He says this isn't about heat tape. This is about survival. Let's be real, Bubba. It all started with the heat tape.
Right.
As soon as she stole that heat tape, he's like, I'm going to come up with a master plan to make her go out cleaning because no one steals heat tape. Okay, but then he does say that hard drive threatens
the lives of everyone here in this silo. And you are the greatest threat to our home in 140 years. Oh. Well, you were. Oh, ice cold villainy. So good, so wonderful. Listeners, what did you think of this? Once again, I didn't like the flashbacks. I would rate this 11 out of, these go to 11 out of 10. This is incredible.
Bubba, the only thing this is making me question is why I'm Team Sims and not Team Bernard.
Okay, good.
Because Sims dresses better. Probably because of that.
Juliette, she tries to run, but there's nowhere to run, baby, nowhere to hide. She does put up a great fight. Catfish, you can respect fighters. You're a boxer. It took about 3 of these judicial thugs to put her down.
You know what? That's just more. I got to see her. Roughhoused. That was good.
Sims, I told you you'd regret arresting me.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the word quickly spreads across this silo. There may not be too much email messaging, and porters may have to deliver messages, but people found out real quick. Shirley and Walker,
like wildfire.
Deputy Hank has told them down in the down deep, and Shirley and Walker are talking about it. Walker doesn't believe it. She's like, there's no way Juliette said she wanted to go outside. Shirley, now this is a true bit of, wait, what? Shirley says,
Thank God I'm not the only one.
Shirley and Knox and these down deepers say, we always thought we'd be punished for the rebellion. The rebellion happened 140 years ago. Are you already punished by living in the down deep?
Right. You would have assumed that all those people were punished. It is weird that I was thinking, was there another rebellion that I'm thinking of that I missed out on? And Bubba is going to give me a hard time. I almost didn't even ask, but because I thought it was so obvious. This is weird that they're talking about the last rebellion as if they're so close to it. They're not.
Especially if they feel like they're tied to the last rebellion. And Juliette has spent the last 20 years living in the down deep. We haven't really seen that kind of talk or behavior from her either.
She doesn't seem like she knows about the rebellion, right?
Now on the stairwell, they're bringing Juliette up. She's trying to talk to Billings, and Billings is in a bad place. He is between these two sides, and he doesn't trust any. He's really had enough of Juliette's. Oh, the pack will help me do this. Great. Oh, the pack won't help me do that. To hell with it. Yeah. Billings tells her. And Billings, you do have to put your thinking brain on here. He tells her, hey, you say you didn't say you wanted to go outside. You can request a trial. Juliette is 100% right. Request a trial. What? From this jerk Sims? And then Sims punches her in the gut. You do not hit
her cool.
Right. I mean, like
he loses his cool. And people see him losing his cool. That's a little destabilizing. He always walks in and he's like, ice cold, chill, but not now.
No, and if you hate rebellion in the silo stable, there was a real quick shot of one of the judicial goons making a face like, this may not be that cool. And then you have witnesses of you beating a prisoner. Catfish, we've had some feedback on this from our good buddy Matt's Test Lab on Twitter. Are we setting the stage for Rebellion 2.0?
Well, it was mentioned already earlier, the rumors that Juliet was starting Rebellion 2.0. You know, the real question is whether Juliet or not will be able to start Rebellion 2.0 relies on one question that I was going to ask later, but I'll ask you now, Bubba.
Sure, what is it?
Can Juliet fly?
No. Okay, so that does get to the end of the episode. She breaks free when Billings has his syndrome attack. To me, you know, some people love this cliffhanger, and I guess I'm a bit of a cliffhanger snob. There is no way that she jumps over that and flies or drops 140 stories and dies. Obviously, she jumps over and she's going to land on one of these bridges that connect to the stairwell. And so to me, that is not a great ending other than we're leaving in the middle of an action sequence. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in the next episode, sure. It's, whoa, smash. And then the hard drive smashes to a million pieces. And as the show happened at the beginning, we suddenly have a new protagonist, you know.
So that is the end of the episode, Bubba. And that leads us right into Judicial Debate 2. So this whole thing was about this hard drive, Bubba.
Yes, it was. It has been, yeah.
What is on the hard drive that makes it so dangerous?
I just said it a second ago, but I want to pull it up, Bernard's quote. That hard drive threatens the lives of everyone in the silo. So, once again, what could it be? So I am going on the assumption, and the show has given us no proof of this, or I guess the show is trying to set up a million things of what's outside. So what if something on that hard drive makes people think we can go outside? And, you know, some people say this is in a different planet, outer space. You go outside the silo and you're eaten by a space monster. That, to me, would be the thing. What could threaten everybody's life? According to what we've seen, it's whatever's outside the silo could threaten everybody's life. And so if you release that to make everybody think you can't go outside, that could be it. So that's my first kind of thought, is something that is on that hard drive that's going to make everybody think, yeah, we can go outside, and you can't. Or maybe vice versa. Maybe the thing that would threaten the silo is that it is fine outside, everybody leaves, then the silo falls apart, and anybody who wants to, you know, you need 10,000 people to keep this thing running, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right, I have a complete, it's funny, you're focused on the outside. I'm focused on the inside. I assume that the hard drive has something about, we know instinctively as viewers that this story about the rebellion is bupkis. Right. That it's not as presented. So my assumption is what's on the hard drive is about what really went down. And so it threatened people's lives because it will destabilize the silo. There will be a revolt. There won't be order.
Well, do you assume, and I guess I do, that they had cameras 140 years ago? Yeah. And what if on the hard drive is actually what happened in the rebellion, and you don't see them destroying history. You see the equivalent of judicial and maintenance and maybe IT killing people. Like that would be something.
I'm into that. All right, we've got one more thing before we get to our feedback, and that, of course, is our double D's, double K's.
Double quest. You mean double quests? Yeah, sure. Yep. What's that?
That's deeply dumb catfish questions.
So many.
Number one. So many.
Yeah.
We saw that Walker tried to go outside, couldn't do it. She's got a different version of the shakes, and that is she can only stay in her workshop. Does Walker have a shower in her workshop? Or does she smell very, very grimy?
In a workshop, would you have a sink probably to clean grime? I guess you would have like some sort of tub with water in the workshop. I don't know exactly what type of workshop that is, but I would think you would have to have something. What about you?
Okay, so you're just suggesting she takes hobo baths. She's a hobo. I'm going to say she's got to have a shower in there. Otherwise, no one would ever come in, no matter how much knowledge she has. Bubba, here's the very important double K catfish question.
Okay.
How come the fields aren't overrun with rabbits? We know how fastly rabbits multiply.
Or mice. What if, mice are everywhere. Remember how mice used to get on the ships, and that's how they came to America and things? Well, unlike the real world, rabbits can't burrow too far. They're not going to be able to hide that much. This is watership death. They'll be able to find them and kill them.
All right, so you're saying definitely food, not pets.
Yeah, oh man. Yes, of course.
I love it. All right, so let's get back to our feedback First of all, Bubba, it's all the people who are going to be even angrier now that I have really come down on the side of the jackbooted thugs and anti-Juliette. Hopefully, it's only 1 or 2 more episodes where I have to keep knocking Juliette. So let's go for it, Bubba.
Pro-Juliette. We asked you guys to defend Juliette, and you did in the feedback. And so we've got a bunch of it. You love Juliette. You're going to love this first bit of the feedback. Pep Pest wrote, Juliette seeks the truth. She's not interested in order. And that is exactly true, Pep Pest. So you like seeking the truth? Love it. Our good buddy Peter Connolly, giving us always so much great feedback down in Australia. Peter wrote, Juliette is an anti-hero. There have been plenty of male anti-heroes over the years. I think it's great that we finally have a female anti-hero we can cheer on. Catfish, what do you think about that?
I agree that's what Peter Connolly said. Kakavma1 says, honestly, I can completely connect with Juliette, and I think you are a bit tough on her. She's smart, and her goal is clear, and she is out of her depth as well. I have the 3 things you say about her in that last statement, I agree with 2 of them.
Hey, Link Heartthrob, who's at Matt's Test Lab 1 on Twitter, wrote, I like Juliette because she has a cause, a mission. She takes ownership. She's had a challenging upbringing. Rebecca Ferguson has a smoldering intensity that she brings, and I like it. Boy, she does have a smoldering intensity, Catfish. You do have to give Link Hogthrob that.
I absolutely will give Link Heartthrob that. Eli Gray at _Eli_Gray says, with the expanded characters, it makes sense we're not getting a more vulnerable and sensible Juliette yet. She's dealing with more manipulation, loss, and betrayal than the book, and the remix keeps me guessing. I get where Bubba's coming from because Juliette is in a much better place at the start of Wool. I'm more empathetic to this broken version and love when we see her intellect, defiance, and glimpses of the version we know. She's openly a rebel, which we know could happen later.
Ronnie Northrop wrote, my feeling is that much of the writing around Juliette emphasizes that she has no idea how to do her job. Forgetting to put on her badge, turning off her radio, her blatant disregard for the law and due process, her gruff demeanor towards people of influence or power that she should be tiptoeing around or trying to ally with. None of this is surprising when you take a mechanic from the down deep who fixes generators for a living and makes that person sheriff of the entire silo. She is no way qualified for this role. In that respect, her character is well written. Good points, Ronnie.
Gina Giacchetti says one of the best things about her is that she gives 0 Fs about what people think as she tries to reach her goal. Like another female leader that not everyone liked, and many now regret not voting for. I have no regrets. I voted for her. When in doubt, go with the person who values the truth and gives 0 Fs on how to find it. Yeah, clearly I'm triggered, LOL, but I will say I wish she'd trust her assigned sidekick more.
Okay, now that is a passionate defense of Juliette from Gina. Love it. Uriel, the man 21 on Twitter, wrote, as prickly as Juliette is, I just want to root for her so bad after all the hell she's gone through. After all, she has yet to progress through the next episodes, and hopefully we need her to progress through the 2nd season.
Oh, good God, point. I hope not. All right, Linda Diedick says Juliette has difficulty in interactions with people. She locked herself down in mechanical and rejected her world after her mother and brother died. Her obsessiveness is almost ADD. She has trouble looking people in the eyes. However, she is smart, clever. I don't personally care about the character in the books. This Juliette is believable.
Ooh, thank you, Linda. And
now, Bubba, somebody who is at Rebecca Fan 14, surprisingly is pro-Juliette, says, not a book reader. I didn't like Juliette in the beginning. I sympathized with her, but she wasn't a very nice person. She's a terrible sheriff. She's not always a good friend either. When was she a good friend? But she's got to fix this thing she's in, and that's why I love Juliette.
At Rebecca Fan 14, wonderful Twitter follow if you love Silo. Keep it up. So, okay, that is a whole bunch of pro-Juliette talk.
Well, you know what? You give me a hard time for being anti-Juliette. And look at all this defense that I'm causing for her. This is great.
Now, we do have some people who are like, oh, I like Juliette and I understand your issues with her. I call it both sides Juliette feedback. So our good buddy Camille at Harley Camille on Twitter wrote, I finally watched this episode during my Greece vacay. Oh, man, I've been to Greece.
Man.
Greece is wonderful. Camille wrote, it was very tense. I'm getting a lot more interested in the show. The cliffhanger at the end of episode 7 left me wanting more. I still get annoyed with some of Juliet's choices, like turning off the radio, but like her, I don't know who to trust. Ooh, great.
Well, Camille, now you know at the end of episode 8, it's Sims and Bernard.
No.
Laura McMillian at MesoCat says, I've been thinking about the characterization of Juliet. She's impulsive, rash, and can be rude. She quickly speaks her mind and is very single-minded. The way she holds herself is awkward and introverted, but she is also very intelligent and gifted in mechanics. I'm wondering if she's being portrayed on the spectrum, which one of our pro-Juliet people said.
San_DI or Sandy wrote, I'm torn with Juliet's brash decisions in episode 7. The judge scene and the nurse attack was inexcusable. Go clean, girl. Then they continued, joke aside, there will be consequences for sure. She must know that. Symbolically, she literally threw in the towel over the mirror as an act of F you, oppressor. Maintenance is the only functional department here anyway. Now this is a long bit of feedback, and I wanted to include all of it because it's so good. Sandy went on to say, I may add something further. As an introverted person myself, I found Rebecca Ferguson's portrayal very good and authentic. The almost stoic nature of the character was established nicely. Then the tight camaraderie, a close loop of friends, is also well defined. Furthermore, the show brilliantly displayed how she, and Sandy goes as well as myself, can't immediately trust other new people around. She's isolated and alone. The honeypot is quite strong here. That said, when we as introverts find close friends and love, we can be very deeply bound. So I can understand her irrational lashing out. Her rationalization of how she was used by her lover and companion is cruel and sad. Yes, Juliet lacks people skills clearly. Many interactions were awkward, blunt, with a reason. I like that. And yes, she approaches problems step by step, analytically, logically. But now, if I was in her shoes, would I do the same boneheaded things? I don't know. Maybe I would, maybe not. I can sort of see the intent. I think more contrast in her character would do wonders, maybe more compassion. The script could have rewritten the interaction with her dad and nurse in episode 7 with more sympathetic tone. We could achieve the same hot-headed moves, but in more variety. Kind of see your opinion, but also see a possibly poor executed intent from the producers and scriptwriters. I don't think it's Rebecca Ferguson's performance, unless she had direct input for those decisions. Wonderful feedback. I like that.
I love that feedback. It's the first feedback that really has been that has made me reconsider what I thought. I have also agreed that it is, and I think we both talked about this, the kind of the way the character has been written to not make them more sympathetic, but also I liked what a lot of what San_DI said about the character. That was very thoughtful and intelligent, which is why we read feedback from our listeners, because it's a lot more thoughtful and intelligent than anything I've said for the last 8 episodes.
What did Vicky say?
Well, a slightly superficial view of things, but I don't think a sheriff should be like the sun. She can investigate later, but one fight can easily be mastered by others. You can't have a sheriff for everything, and she doesn't want to be a sheriff. What I didn't like was the haste and lack of caution.
I agree, Vicky. The lack of caution drove me crazy. So, Catfish, we asked for this defense of Juliet to counterbalance us. And listen, we've been talking for 15 minutes. It feels like, look at this great defense. Now, the flip side is almost equal number of people kind of felt like we did and had problems with Juliet as a character. So let's go through these. Massey81 wrote, I preferred the actress who played Allison in episode 1. She would have been a good Juliet. Wouch.
Maybe, but also, like we said, I think the writing needed to help her. 1D Forever says, I'm enjoying this despite Juliet's reckless behavior. She behaves like a 2023 person would if inserted into the silo.
Mario wrote, I have to agree with you on this. Juliet in the book is super confident, fast, and positive. I don't see that on the show. Ouch.
And Rita also agreed, saying, I do not like the TV character, but I like her in the books.
Another reader, Joe, wrote, I'm glad I'm not the only reader going WTF with this show and character. I won't quit watching, but I've definitely got mixed feelings towards watching Silo.
Scott Zeroster says, I feel really bad for saying this, but I really wish the actress for the role was from Georgia or the Midwest. She looks amazing and has a great stoic quality, but there's a natural quality that's missing that I can't explain. The acting feels overly stoic. We want to cheer for her victories, and we're not. And again, I think that's kind of the way it's written. And some of the
I think it's the way it's written.
The pro-Juliette people, the stoicness that I think the person is seeing here is this person who's single-minded, perhaps somewhere on the spectrum, like that, just not good interacting with people.
Trouble Follows wrote, Juliette doesn't think about the consequences of her actions. She could have easily put the flowers back in the vase and then blocked the mirror. It would have looked natural, but instead she just throws a blanket over it. Now Sims can't let her go and tell everyone about the cam mirrors. Juliette's going outside. Ooh, that's Trouble Follows' opinion. Whoa.
East Shore Carp says, I don't expect a book adaptation to follow exactly, but I would hope the character's arc and personalities to vaguely follow the book. The book Juliette is headstrong too, but she's also compassionate, honest, loving, aspiring for the greater good, and believable as a good human being. Show Juliette is repeatedly selfish, self-centered, irresponsible, cruel, conceited, stubborn, cares about nobody else and is only focused on avenging, sort of, her dead lover.
Dang.
I watched the show because of Lady Jessica, then went on to read all 3 books, which I enjoyed tremendously, and now I'm thinking about dropping the show altogether.
Oh, no.
Rebecca Ferguson is not a bad actress. Maybe it's the executive producer's fault. East Shore Carp brought it hard, Bubba.
Bringing the heat like Bernard. I love it. Tim's Retro Corner said, Juliette is thoughtless. That's my biggest problem with her in the show. It doesn't gel with her being a hotshot engineer. You don't go at the generator like a bull in a china shop. And then Tim is so brilliant. He writes, Mythbusters prove that bulls are gentle in china shops. And he says, anyway, listen, you don't go crazy on a generator unless you want to be zapped, mangled, and killed in 1,001 different ways. Juliette might be out of her depth up top, but she's an engineer. She should know how to diagnose a problem and be analytical. So why would she just forget those skills? Wouch.
And Hefty said, I 100% agree about Juliette's character. I absolutely despise the show's version of her character. She's a bully, reckless, and I'd be happy to watch her clean. Hefty, clean.
And our final bit of feedback in this great Juliette feedback
Debate
section. Jacob wrote, I also agree with your thoughts on Juliette 100% of the time. Wow. Well, Catfish,
Bubba,
any thoughts about our readers, listeners? This is incredible.
I just love the people's passion about this. I love that. I love that all the examples and the thought they put into it. I'm very excited about this. This is me coming down on Juliette has created some great engagement, Bubba. Isn't that our job? Engagement.
Catfish, I want to tell a story about myself. So last week, I was just as tough as you were on Juliette. I was like, you're the sheriff. There's a riot going on. People need your help, and you just turn off your radio. That's the worst. And so I watched the show. I say that on the podcast. I post the podcast. Monday morning, I go into work, and somebody reaches out in an app and says, ooh, I really, really need help here at work. And so I thought, I'm just going to pretend I'm on a call and won't help. And so then I realized I am the biggest hypocrite known to man. Now, admittedly, I knew that the person calling for help, was not in a life or death situation, and it wasn't help at that time. But then I just realized I have to forgive Juliette for turning off the radio.
Did you consider that maybe you were inspired by Juliette?
There you go. That's it. Juliette, I'm on your team. I'm never going to help anybody.
I love it. All right, Bubba, we got some non-Juliette feedback on episode 7.
That's incredible.
David Lockme says, you two are the real flame keepers.
Oh, thank
you. I love it, Bubba.
Much. Michael wrote, I can't get enough of this series. There's something about the sets of the silo that draws me into the world. I have to go back and rewatch episodes to get things I missed. Fridays don't get here fast enough. Thank you, Michael. Love you're loving it.
Walking Robin says, I feel Silo is a social experiment. The administration portion are trying to breed out undesirables.
Or just shove out the door undesirables. Wow. Great feedback always from YVNGKXNG. They wrote, visually, Bernard, Tim Robbins, sucks in the show. But this acting during this episode gave me big book vibes. Tim Robbins did an amazing job. Well, what incredible feedback.
So what this listener was saying was based on what they thought Bernard would look like on the book. That just the look's not working, but now the acting is working.
Yeah, Tim Robbins.
Kiki Fry says episode 7 rating 9.5 out of 10 double C's.
Wait, double C's?
Catfish crack ups.
Oh, wow.
You two are great together and love Catfish's dark humor. Is it me or does anyone else want a floor courier to accidentally knock Sims off the edge of the silo staircase? Ideally on a lower level so he dies after he hits the ground and suffers for a while the generator staff cheer like it's Freedom Day.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
Ring the bell.
I love Kiki's dark humor. It's just pointed at the wrong person. Sims is the hashtag hero we all need.
Citizen Wayne wrote, honestly, people underestimate coverage of TV shows like this. They take it for granted. But the web shows and podcasts like you guys are what keep shows streaming these days. So thanks for doing this. Oh, thank you, Citizen Wayne, for writing that. They go on to write, I don't always agree with everything said, but this is one of the longest form discussions shows available for Silo. And the only one that is more than just a recap of the stuff I've already watched myself. If you guys care, I'm looking for theories and predictions. I'm looking for ethical analysis of individual consequential decisions. So I'm seeing that and want to keep seeing more in the future. Maybe a few more predictions from you two. You guys are great. Keep it up. Also, Catfish has an excellent sense of where the line is for political comedy.
That's what people
He can make the joke so that people who get it will get it, but the majority of white male audience on YouTube won't totally abandon us.
Thank you. Someone's talking about my subtlety, Bubba.
Subtlety, yeah. Right up there with Juliette's.
Akomax Tamashii says, Juliette only knows about the mirrors because she pieced together what Holston was trying to tell her. How did Holston find out about the mirrors?
What? We need to find that out. We do need to find that out. I think that's a great point. Our great buddy Double M Matthew Murdoch, who does great podcasts himself. He's here on the network. He's going to be doing the Wheel of Time at the end of August. And if you love the Wheel of Time, if you're into the books, trust me, follow Matt Murdoch at Musical Concepts on Twitter. He's incredible. But he's sick of us being so negative. And he said, Catfish, we need to rename our podcast Sims the Cleaner.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, maybe he'll like this episode because it looks like Juliet's almost at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Ryan responded to me because I kept saying that Billings should turn Juliet in, but Ryan says Billings can't say anything because Juliet knows he has the syndrome.
Do you agree with that? If you're Billings, is keeping the fact you have the syndrome a secret more important than turning in Juliet and possibly getting in trouble yourself?
He's too honorable for any of that. He's not as smart as his wife. His wife would have made the calculation earlier. This woman is going to be too much trouble. I can get her busted without my fingerprints on it. So, but I can see what Ryan is saying.
Lady FAB Fab wrote, Shooting Stars spells desperate V-boy. Oh boy, dacking Lucas. I really do not like Lucas and hope nothing happens between him and Juliet. That will be a very disappointing love interest. Catfish, do you agree that Lucas is not manly enough for Juliet?
Well, he's definitely a coward. We can see that so far. All you care about is your mom. She just brought you into this world. You've known me for a total of 30 minutes.
I know.
All right, Dave6165 says, people have been complaining the hosts are too negative. The sweet spot for Double P is a show that's enjoyable enough to keep watching, but flawed enough to be made fun of. Not every show can be a masterpiece like Emerald City. Oh my God, the wheat and the chaff.
Now, we have covered some really great shows. I don't want anybody to talk about that we don't cover perfect, wonderful shows. We've covered a few absolute clunkers, but we can talk great. We have great podcasts about great shows, so careful there. Hey, we're going to go to Book Talk. Book Talk is going to have some version of spoiler one way or another. And so, guys, if you want to jump out now, join us back when we talk about episode 9, The Getaway, here on the Cleaning Podcast. And you can reach us at Double PHQ and tell us what you think. So if you don't want spoilers, we'll talk to you next week.
And you can hit me up at, because I'm peacing out, CJG Man 67.